Hey everybody, Larry, Fort Worth Memories Museum, and all of the groups. And I'm here with Rick and Mary, and it's Tuesday, and so that means it's Hometown Heroes. And y'all got the show, and you've got a guest.
We do indeed.
Woo.
How are you today, Mary?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Our guest today, Larry, he's a Army veteran, and he did 2 tours in Iraq.
Yes, sir.
1 in Afghanistan, and his name is Travis Simons.
You nailed it. That's it.
And he's also the executive director of HALO for Freedom Warriors Foundation, which we started doing a little research on that foundation. They do some really cool stuff. I can't wait to.
What's the name of it?
It's HALO for Freedom Warriors Foundation.
Yep.
Okay.
So HALO for short, but it's the HALO for Freedom Warriors Foundation. And we're actually locally based. We're in Weatherford, so we're like your next door neighbors, Fort Worth, right around the corner.
Pretty
Right.
cool. Pretty cool.
And so we've been geared up for this next year's big event coming up in March. So we're just kind of knocking on that door, and we're really excited about it, man. We got some cool stuff going on.
How many veterans do you usually have that show up?
So we bring in 50 wounded warriors, so wounded vets from all across the nation. We've actually had guys fly in and take leave from Hawaii. We've had guys come from Germany and all across Europe. Anywhere that we have a base stationed or we have a veteran that lives, we can bring them in. So we've internationally brought guys in.
And so when you bring them in, what does your facility do? Or
So we actually don't have a set facility. So we do a lot of event-based activities all throughout the Weatherford Mineral Wells area. And so the slogan or the kind of the punchline for the foundation is it's not the disability, it's the ability. So our emphasis is for wounded and combat wounded, disabled veterans to give them that zest back. Because a lot of guys, as I'm sure everyone in this room is familiar, people get out with injuries, right?
Sure.
You mental, physical, and of course when we're talking injuries, we're not just talking mental, we're not just talking physical, it's a combination of both. We have vets with PTSD, we have vets with TBI, we have vets with serious trauma. We have single amputee, double amputee. Our founder and president, Dana Bowman, retired E7, Sergeant First Class, Golden Knight, Special Forces, Army Rangers. Man, this guy's done it all. He's a double amputee. And
He was like the first double amputee to get back on active duty.
Actually, he holds quite a few records, but I think his claim to fame, if you will, is he was the first ever double amputee to be reinstated back to full active duty status. He then became the first double amputee to ever be able to do jumps with the Golden Knights, and he finished out his career as a double amputee. And so he doesn't stop. It's just not in his vocabulary. He doesn't understand the meaning of the word quit. That's a dirty 4-letter word to this guy, right? Like he just doesn't stop.
And it was a horrible accident he had. They were practicing.
Yeah, so they were actually
golden-
doing an exhibition jump over Wildcat Stadium in Yuma, Arizona. Dana, forgive me, I believe it was 93. It was either 93 or 94. And he was in a midair collision with his jumping partner. They were doing a formation that they'd done 1,000 times before. And his partner's arm in the V formation came across and collided with Dana, and it sheared both of Dana's legs off midair. So you have 2 guys at terminal velocity that are both going terminal velocity, and then all of a sudden they meet in the middle and things don't go well. Dana woke up a couple days later. He was in the hospital. He had lost both of his legs. He found out that his best friend had died. So he busted himself out of the hospital, caught a ride, and went to the funeral.
Wow.
Right, snuck out of the hospital. Right, went to his partner, went to his best friend's funeral, and then they told him, of course, well, your career is done. Right, you're a double amputee. Never had special forces with prosthetics. We've certainly never had Golden Knights do exhibition jumps with special forces. And so Dana got some of the first early prosthetics. He went through rigorous PT, started training, got back to it, and he had to prove to the Army, to DOA, to Department of the Army, that he could do it. And so they put him through all of the rigors, all of the exams, all of everything, and he was reinstated back into active duty status. And we've had hundreds of vets over the years come through that are single amputee, double amputee. Dana goes and visits them in Walter Reed and Bethesda and everywhere else, and they all know who he is. They've all heard of him, and he's an inspiration to all of these amputees because Well, if he can come back on active duty status, so can they. And now there have been a number of vets. Leroy Petrie, right? Medal of Honor recipient. He's actually on our board, one of our very good friends. We love Leroy to death. You know, lost his arm and he's got the prosthetic hand. Came back on active duty status, finished out his career. You know, Colonel Greg Gatson, another good friend of ours. You ever seen the Battleship movie? Have you seen the movie Battleship? Anybody in here?
I'm trying to
No,
I
remember.
haven't.
So it came out a few years ago, and so it was, of course, based on the Battleship game that we all played growing up. Like, you sunk my battleship.
Right, right.
Well, they made a big budget movie about it, and so he actually had a role in the movie, and he's walking with his prosthetics. But he's done a whole lot of stuff. He's a VMI Institute. He goes and talks to NFL teams before the games and motivates them, and he's just done a lot of stuff. He's actually with the Gary Sinise Foundation now, doing a lot of really good stuff with Gary Sinise. And so he remembers when he lost his legs, Dana was in the hospital, right? Talking to him, motivating him, encouraging him, and that's kind of what he does. So to backtrack a little bit, Halo really kind of has existed even before Halo existed, right? Halo started off with Dana just refusing to quit and only ever being motivated to continue to drive on, and taking that to all these guys, taking them to the hospital, taking that to Bethesda and to Walter Reed and to the EOD facilities in San Antonio and to everything else, motivating these guys that were just down in the dumps in what is the lowest part of your life, right? To go from being fit and being active duty and being special forces or ranger or, you know, PJ or whatever it is, to now they're telling you you can't walk on your own without assistance and you have to have these prosthetics or you're in a wheelchair. Well, that just completely derails so many people. And so, you know, Dana was going to them and motivating them and talking to them, and it's going to be okay. And he's actually been on Dateline and NBC and Fox News and everything else. And, you know, there's videos of him. He jokes that he lost his legs, but he gained a bunch because he's got snow ski legs and he's got swimming legs and running legs and hiking legs and all these different stuff. And it doesn't slow him down. He still scuba dives. He still skydives. He still hikes. I've been skiing with him. He burns all of us. We eat his snow powder, man. There's no catching up to him. And he just doesn't stop. And so we've adopted that mindset and brought it to Weatherford, to the Metroplex. And so we bring all these guys in. We've had single amputees, double amputees, you know, guys in wheelchairs. We've had guys that have been burned. We've had guys that have been blown up, legally blind, missing various appendages and parts, and essentially part of themselves. And so it's not the disability, it's the ability. So everything that we do is geared that everyone can do it, right? So we start the day off. So they all come in, they check into the hotel, right? They get their shirts, they get their swag, they get their room assignments, they get some breakfast. And then we go straight to Texas Motor Speedway. And we get a class with Team Texas with Mike Starr. And then these guys are jumping into NASCAR. So they're driving, right? One of the coaches is in the passenger seat. And they're not on the track by themselves. They're putting them out there in groups of 10, and they're racing.
That's scary.
These guys are doing
It's a little scary.
these guys are doing 150 miles an hour on the track
I've been in a NASCAR.
At-
I've driven a NASCAR.
at Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, at
and
Motor
they
Speedway.
and they are driving.
Yep.
They are racing. They're passing. They're going 150 miles an hour,
Unbelievable.
and they're behind the wheel, right? We've had guys with no legs drive. We've had guys with no arms drive. We've had guys that are legally blind that can't see the microphone in front of their face. They're out there driving. It's not the disability, it's the ability, right? So then that night we have a big get together and have a bunch of really good food and hang out. And it's a chance for everybody to get to know everybody because most of these guys have never met any of the other people before. So it's kind of like a social. So then the next day we go out to Mineral Wells, and that's our big machine gun day, right? So we have helicopter hog hunting. So these guys are getting to go hog hunt from helicopters. We have helicopter target shooting.
You've done that before, haven't you?
Yeah.
Oh man, there's hog hunting, and then there's helicopter hog hunting. Like it's night and day, right? High school and NFL. I mean, we've got a full machine gun shoot. So we're talking surface weapons. We have
50 cows.
M250 cals. We've got saws. We've got 240s. We've got suppressed 240s and saws, fully automatic sniper rifles, right? Barrett 50 cal, 6.5 Creedmoor, you name it. And so we go out there and these guys get a chance to get back behind that weapon system that they're so familiar with that was such a part of their life for so long. We've got RDO Equipment comes out. They're one of our sponsors, and they come out and they bring all their heavy equipment. So those guys are getting to go out there and play with earth shakers and movers and dozers and tractors, and they're just getting to have a blast and just tear all this stuff up and move a bunch of dirt and have a great time, right? We've got 3-gun shoot that's going on out there. We've got a long-range sniper shoot that's going on out there. We've got pistol competition. They're shooting clay and skeet.
Where is this at Mineral Wells?
Out in Mineral Wells.
At the old base?
No, actually, we have a friend of ours that graciously lets us use about 1,500 acres of his property
Wow.
out there.
What's going on with that old? That was a helicopter base, wasn't it?
It used to be. It used to be a helicopter base and a reservice station. And I don't know that
It's an industrial complex now.
yeah, I can say I don't know that it's doing a
Military
whole
stuff.
lot now.
Yeah.
But so they go out there and they get to go helicopter hog hunting and shoot and machine guns and 50 cals and sniper rifles and the whole bit. Of course, we're feeding them good food the whole time that they're out there. And then at the end of the day, once all the barrels have cooled down and right, we have our Mad Minute. Got to have the Mad Minute on the range. It's a crucial piece. And once that's done, those guys have an option if they want to go out night bow fishing. So we have another friend of the foundation and one of our board members and sponsors, Tony Ryan. So he has Team Full Scale Assault, which is he's got 2 fully set up, completely custom night bow fishing rigs. So they're almost like hover boats. And so you go out there on the hover boats on the lake and you shine your lights in the water, and then you have a bow that actually has a reel attached to it. And so you're out there, you shoot the fish with the bow,
Wow.
put it in the stand, and then you reel it in. And these guys are, they're catching monsters out there. They're having a great time. They're out there half the night, spotlighting and bow fishing these fish. Great again, bonding, great experience. And he's got stuff set up to where he can put blocks out there for guys in wheelchairs, and they're helping. Again, it's not the disability, it's the ability. If you want to do it, we will find a way for you to do it. Years and years and years ago, we had a gentleman come through. Oh my goodness, he must have been about 22 or 23 years old. He had lost both of his legs in an IED explosion. And all he wanted to do, he was in a wheelchair, right? All he wanted to do was go up in the helicopter and hog hunt. Well, there wasn't enough of him to be able to put him in a chair and put a strap on him and put a seatbelt in him. But that's all this kid wanted to do. So we figured out a way. We got him up there. We helped hold, and he had a balance, and we had a stand set up for him on the helicopter. And the squeals of joy and the zest of life that came out of this kid's mouth when he shot a hog from the helicopter, man, I'll never forget for as long as I live. And you saw the lights come back on.
So y'all's deal is just kind of like a candy store for guys that are disabled. But there's no. You bring them in and you let them get the dream comes true.
Sure.
And then they just go back to.
Not quite. So we
Okay.
come in for those first 2 days, and those are your candy store days, right? That's the
Right.
That's the Hollywood stuff to get the zest up and to get them
Right.
kind of pumped back up. NASCAR, sniper rifles, and
Sure.
helicopter hog hunting, and night bow fishing. But then that next day, the Friday,
Because this is a 4-day event.
it's a
four-day
four-day event,
event.
right? So we're just through day 2. So now day 3 comes in, and that's actually my favorite day. And I think I was talking to you about it on the phone the other
yeah.
day. And so that's what I call our community give back day. So we go to Weatherford High School, and they have the whole school come in, freshman through senior, in the auditorium. And they've got all 50 of us lined up on the stage. We got chairs, and we're sitting up there, and we're in our Halo shirts. And the journalism team and the students get our bios a few days or a week before we go up there, so they know who we are. And mind you, we've had Medal of Honor recipients, prisoners of war, right? Astronauts, guys that have been shot down, 1-star generals, and just very, very, we've had the gentleman from Black Hawk Down and just some very celebrity, if you will, or very kind of high status VIP warriors come through. And now you have a high school that gets a chance to say, well, what was it like when you were a prisoner of war? And they have a one-on-one direct line of communication with that vet.
Wow.
what did you feel when you came home from Vietnam? Well, what was it like to be in space?
Yeah.
Right? And you just have this one way, a kid with a microphone and a vet with a microphone, and they're just having this personal conversation that everyone else just gets to listen in on. And it's the most amazing, it's the most amazing experience in the whole world. And I was telling Mary that when I first got the call to come through back in 2017, so I'd gotten out in 2016, and then Dana Bowman called me and said, hey, we'd like you to come through our program, and your name was passed up to us. And at the time, I was so disillusioned with the military, right? Because I just gotten out, and I was like, I'm done with that stuff. I don't want any part of it. Now, secretly, that's all I wanted, of course, is I longed for that camaraderie and that brotherhood, but I had to put up that gruff exterior. Oh, I don't need that. Get away from me. I don't want your self-help kumbaya. And he looked, do you like to drive fast? I'm like, I love to drive fast. He goes, do you like to shoot guns? I said, I love to shoot guns. He goes, do you want to shoot hogs from helicopters? I said, okay, now you have my attention. Lead with that next time. So I signed up, right? So I go through the whole process, and I get over there. And he's telling me that my favorite part of the event, he says, I'll check back with you at the end. But I guarantee you, your favorite part of the event is going to be the high school visit. And I said, I'm going to like talking to a bunch of snot-nosed high school kids more than I like rappelling and jumping out of helicopters and shooting hogs. And I don't think so. And he goes, okay, I'll talk to you in a couple days. Well, I'll be damned if I didn't come back after the gala. He came over to me and he said, hey, what'd you think of the event? I said, oh my God, Dana, it was fantastic. It changed my life. He goes, what was your favorite part? And I went, the high school visit. And he goes, see, I told you.
Yeah.
And it's just because it is such a humbling, just amazing experience. I mean, I remember back when I was in high school, we were all in high school once. Mm-hmm. I remember assemblies being loud and obnoxious and rude and burp and fart noises and jokes and snickers and giggles. Nobody listened to anything that was going on. Everybody talked over whoever was speaking. You could hear a pin drop when we're in there. I mean, it's dead silent. It's nothing but respect. They all want to talk to us. Afterwards, they all want to come up to us and shake our hands, thank us, take pictures with us. And it is just the most rewarding experience. Like, words just don't even describe how rewarding that experience is to have that relationship and that one-on-one with all this younger generation. So we finish from there, and then we go over to the Audubon, the BMW Audubon dealership in Fort Worth, and they put on a big luncheon for us, and we get to meet a lot of their workers and mechanics and people. And they have a race, they bring the race car hood off, and all the warriors get to sign it, which is really kind of cool because you're looking at this hood that's covered in 20 years worth of signatures, and there's a lot of guys that are older, World War I, World War II, that aren't with us anymore. And so you're getting to add your signature kind of to that legacy, and it's just a very humbling experience. And then that night, in the past, we've gone to Billy Bob's, right? Got to show these guys the world's biggest honky tonk, and they put on a really good thing for us, and we get to kind of be VIP in the little section there and see the band, and the guys get to just kind of cut loose and meet some locals and hang out. And again, world's biggest honky tonk. But this year we're going to go to Panther Island Brewery, actually right outside of the stockyards. You're right in your backyard there, right there in Panther Island. And they're going to kind of close down and do a VIP event for us and show us the brewery and how they make it and what it is. And we're going to get to bring friends and family and just kind of have a really cool kind of close-knit night to just kind of be reflective of all the stuff that we've done. And then that next day, we go to Cattleman's Steakhouse, and the guys get a steak and some surf and turf and just get to have a really good meal. And it's the warriors and the board members and the volunteers, and all of us are there together. And then that night we have our gala, which is actually the only event that's not in the kind of Fort Worth, Weatherford, Mineral Wells area. We actually go to the Circle R Ranch in Flower Mound and have a big Western themed gala, and do, people can get tables, and we have speakers and, silent auction items and live auction items. And so every year we have a video guy that's embedded with us, and he takes footage of all the warriors doing all the different events and everything going on. And then they must not sleep that night because they put this like 8 to 10 minute video, like a montage video, together to be shown at the gala. So I'm pretty sure they don't sleep, because they're even filming at Cattleman's that morning, and like it makes the video at the end of the day. So I don't know that video team sleeps
Right.
really that night. They must be editing, constantly. And so then all the sponsors and everybody there gets to see what has just kind of gone on over the last few days, which is probably some of what you saw if you were searching around on YouTube and the website of some of those previous videos. Those are literally made in just a matter of a couple of days. I mean, they start filming when we get here and in process, and they stop filming when we're done at Cattleman's, and then they have it all put together for us to watch at the gala. Yeah, they do really.
And so where does that go out to? YouTube and
Yeah, so it goes to YouTube, and it's on our website, out on social media.
What's the name of your website again?
It's haloforfreedom.org. And then both of our socials, the Facebook and Instagram, is just Halo for Freedom. So
And that's a national. Is that y'all's group? Is that a national group, or is that?
So we're not national. So we're local now. We bring people in from all around.
So it was started here in Weatherford.
Started right here in Weatherford, Texas. Yep. And so that's where Dana Bowman lives, and so that's kind of where it started, because
Does
that's
he
his
still
base.
live in the area?
He is.
Okay.
He's still just right up the road. And then of course the reason we're at Weatherford High School is because that's where his kids went. And so he had that relationship with the principal and with the staff, and now all his kids are grown and graduated, but there's still that decade-long working relationship from his girls and from his son. And so that's why we keep going back to that Weatherford High School every year. And they tell us every year that it's they look forward to it. Like they know what March means. Anybody that's at least been a freshman, and they know what March means. It means we're coming in. And so they look forward to us coming in.
So does
every
that
year.
is this a 52-week event? I mean, there's always new people coming in.
So there's always new people coming in. So Dana,
Where do they stay when they?
at a local hotel.
Oh, okay. Y'all put them up.
We put them up in the hotel. And so the part that I love to talk about the most, other than kind of the exciting part, if you will, is that these warriors, these vets, don't pay for anything.
Good.
Right? They don't pay for anything. We fly them in. They don't pay for airfare. If they drive, we pay for gas. They don't pay for the hotel. They don't pay for food while they're here. They don't pay to drive. They don't pay to do any of the events. That is all coming from the organization, from us. So these guys they're not paying for anything. The only thing they're paying for is if they, get up in the middle of the night and they're craving a McDonald's and they go across the street to get a burger. That's on them. However, any, your basics, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, water, drinks, food, basic amenities, your hotel, it's all covered. And none of the staff, faculty, board members, nobody associated with the organization gets paid. Not a dime. Not a dime.
Yeah,
100%.
like roll call.
Just like roll call.
Right,
That's
right,
right.
right.
100% of everything that we make and raise goes towards these warriors, right? So
How do
Dana,
they qualify? I mean, do you have
So,
a lot of people that
we
sign
do,
up?
and so it's really kind of organic how they all come to be. So Dana is a motivational speaker, right? So Dana travels. He's slowed down since COVID, but he's probably still on the road, 18 to 20 weeks of the year. And he does a lot of events and speaks, and he goes to Annapolis and the military ball and all that stuff. And so he's constantly striking up conversations with people, talking about Halo, and he'll get all the time, oh my God, my husband or my son, or, oh, you need to talk to this person. Or he'll just start talking to that individual veteran that he kind of hones in on, and the amputee with the prosthetics or the wheelchair or whatever, and goes, hey, you ever heard of Halo? No? Well, here's my number. Call me and reach out. He also does a lot of exhibition jumps. So he jumps into the rodeo, and he jumps everywhere. He jumps golf tournaments and the rodeo and all over. And so he's constantly meeting people. And then I do the same. Myself and a couple of the other board members are either out speaking or doing different events or things like this. And we just kind of run across people. And then we get submissions through the website, through social media. People send us stuff on Facebook, or they'll send me an email, or my phone number and Dana's phone number are both on the website and on everything that we do. So we'll get calls or text messages, And so we just kind of have a running spreadsheet, if you will, of this person, this name, this branch, met them here. And so then, once it comes time, so normally actually about this time, December, January, we start reaching out and going, hey, we met you last March at the rodeo. Our event's coming up and we have a slot. Are you interested? Are you available? And that's kind of how we start organically flowing through it.
How many slots do you have?
So we bring in 50 a year.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
a lot of
That is a lot.
of
50
coordination
Wow.
too.
It is. So that's 50. Now, of course, they're not all out of town. So we do have some that are local that are able to drive in, but that's still, half at least, 20, 25 flights that you're booking, return flight, in-flight, hotel, accommodations, lodging, logistics. And, of course, we try to give them as much time as possible. So if they're working, they can talk to their boss and see if they can take the time off. Or, I've talked to dozens of bosses and employers, and I'm like, okay, so they want off for this, but what is this? So let me explain to you what your employee is trying to do, and it all just kind of comes together. So
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Do you ever
something.
get turned down by the employer? I mean, do the employers ever?
we have had a couple. The really tricky ones are the guys that are still active duty.
Yeah.
Right, so that's permissive TDY.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a slipperier slope, right? So that's a little bit different. And we've had a couple of employers that were like, well, I can give them off 2 days,
Yeah.
but not 4 days. Or we've even had the veterans say, well, look, I can't afford to take 5 days off, but I can take 3 days off. And so we kind of work with them and we do that. But for the most part, people are very gracious, right? They're very understanding. Once they kind of hear what's going on and what kind of a benefit that it's going to bring their employee, most people are very good about it and absolutely take the time, go to this event. We'll see you when you come back.
Yeah.
Take
Just
take
imagine.
pictures. We can't wait to hear all about
Yeah,
it.
just imagine
Right.
the employer that goes, man, I really support you doing this. This is going to be great. It's going to really help you.
Right.
I'm excited for you, and how much more motivated would that employee
Absolutely.
come back to work?
Absolutely. And that's what I try to tell these people when I do get those phone calls, or when Dana gets those phone calls from the employers or the bosses or whatever. Look, you're not going to get the same person back. The return on investment, right? Your dividends are going to be paid back in zest, motivation,
Work production.
ethic,
Absolutely.
positive attitude. Like you're going to get tenfold back what you put in.
Right.
You're sending me, and I don't say it to be mean at all, but you're sending me a broken, right? You're
individual.
sending me a broken individual.
Yeah.
This person is a shell of who they used to be, and I don't say that in a bad way.
Derogatory, no.
And not derogatory at all. I was a shell, right? I was certainly a fraction of.
So tell us about that. Tell us about what brought you
Sure.
to that point. What happened in your military career that brought you there that might inspire somebody else out
Right.
there that's where you were before you went?
Absolutely. So I joined the Army in 2003, right before the holidays, and basically got everything done and MEPS and did all that. And I took just enough delayed entry program to get through Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, kind of do one final holiday with the family. And then January 13th, 2004, out the door, I went on a bus to Fort Benning, or on a plane to Fort Benning, but so I joined 11 Bravo, right? Joined as an infantry. I had that mindset of if I'm going to join the military, at that time I had in my head that I'm going to join the military, right? Like I'm going to be a soldier, right? That's what I want to do. I don't want to be support. I don't want to be stuck in an office. I don't want to be fixing vehicles, right? I want to be a soldier making a difference, on those front lines. Of course, since I joined in 3 and shipped in 4, 9/11's already happened, right? 9/11's
Right.
already happened. A lot of those guys, and I'll get there in a second, but when I showed up to Fort Campbell after training and school and everything else, those guys were just coming back from Iraq, Those guys were just coming back. Like, I showed up and they were on block leave after the invasion, right? After OEF 1 and beginning of 2. Still in DCU, still in the cookie chip, right? DCUs,
yeah.
the big floppy collars.
Uh-huh.
And here I am, right? Fresh greenhorn, wet behind the ears in my brand new starched BDUs, right? And boy, don't I stick out like a sore thumb. And they made sure that we knew that, you know, we were the new guys, and of course, different army back then, and I don't regret a minute of it because it made me into who I am now. But they gave us some grief, you know. They had just come back from deployment, from the invasion. We're a bunch of new guys in clean uniforms that had never done anything. Of course, they're going to give us a bunch of grief. It's to be expected. It is the 11 Bravo way, right? And so I ended up deploying out of the 101st. I was part of the No Slack Division, right? Bastogne Brigade, No Slack Division. And we left for Iraq in 2005. And so off I went on this brand new adventure. And of course, I'd spent the last 8 months, 9 months, whatever, listening to these guys tell horror stories of the invasion. And, you know, we hadn't showered in 60 days. And we took our DCUs off, and they were so crusty from the salt and the sweat that they just kind of stood up by themselves and went out back and, you know, beat a little bit of the salt out of them and put them back on. And, you know, some of that I'm sure true, some of that exaggerated for effect. It got the point across, right? Like, we didn't know what we were doing, but we were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and terrified. And so that first deployment, we were in Kirkuk. So we were in Kirkuk, Iraq, and we were actually set up. My platoon took over an old bread factory. So we lived in an old abandoned bread factory right there in Kirkuk, and got some scrap lumber where we could, and kind of built ourselves little individual rooms, areas, nothing more than, you know, cot, hooch, and a piece of plywood to call the door, and you know, and so we spent that deployment out in the city, right, doing patrols, you know, doing a lot of key leader engagements, and trying to, of course, hearts and minds, right? That's the goal, hearts and minds. Not a very well recepted goal, but it was a relatively calm deployment. I mean, we got into our fair share of scuffles and skirmishes, but IEDs really hadn't kind of picked up yet at that point, so it was still that firefight exchange back and forth. They shoot at us, we shoot at them. We're on patrol, they shoot, we shoot back, you know, we seek cover, and we kind of played that cat and mouse game. And we had a pretty heavy op tempo. Ended up doing a lot of QRF and attached to EOD, and took them out and played that game. So then we came back, and of course you hit the ground running. You get back, you take a little bit of block leave, jump straight back into your training tempo. You're going to schools, you're out in the field, you're doing JRTC at Fort Polk, you're doing, you know, train. So we were home, but we weren't really home. We were gone a whole lot, you know. So then we kicked off again and deployed back to Iraq, but this time we went to Samara. So we were in Samara, Iraq, in the heart of the Sunni Triangle, a very, very hostile area of the country. You know, a lot of infighting from the Sunnis and the Shiites, and, you know, they did not want us there, and they made that very, very clear. You know, the unit that we replaced told us, good luck, you know, good luck. They don't want you. They don't want the help. They don't want you to do anything. They want you to get out of their country, get out of their way, and do whatever they do. And so we just kind of stepped into that very hostile, very, very aggressive, and very unwelcome environment. And we weren't in the best part of town. You know, if Kirkuk was you know, the nice side of the Metroplex, then Samara was most definitely the other side of the tracks that, you know, your mom warned you not to go to. And that was a very different op tempo. We were getting, you know, engaged on the constant. IEDs were definitely a thing. You know, we were in the up armored MRAPs at that point, but we were still, you know, getting hit by IEDs and dealing with that, and they'd be putting them out on there for our routes. And the day that really changed everything for me and for a lot of us, actually, Rick, you posted yesterday on the Hometown Heroes page about the 3 soldiers that died on January 8, 2008 in Samarra, Iraq, ultimately died of wounds in Balad. But so that was the day that changed everything. So we were out on what was seemingly a routine patrol, right? Just a presence patrol, moving through an area that we'd been through a dozen times before. You know, nothing special, no specific mission. We weren't going to a house to grab anybody. We weren't, you know, going to we were just out just to let them see us and move through the village and move through the area. And we came under an ambush, a complex attack, and ended up being in a multiple hour exchange, firefight. I mean, they had us pinned down from multiple sides. Come to find out later, we didn't know at the time, but they had multiple fighting positions dug in. They had underground tunnels. They had strategic reload points. They had ammo supplies all throughout the area. They've been waiting on us, maybe not us specifically, but us, American, right, coalition.
Right.
And they were most definitely in the advantage and ready for us. So we lost 3 men that day, three brothers, 3 friends. Sergeant David Hart, who was actually a very, very close friend of mine. He's my son. Him and his wife Nicole are my son's godparents. Right, we were very, very close coming up. And then Specialist Philip Paneer and Specialist Ivan Merlot. All 3 of those men fell that day. Numerous other people were wounded or took, shot, shrapnel, IED, fragmentation, whatever it was. So we ended up coming out on top, I guess you could say, right? We won and they didn't. Most of us came home. None of them went home. And then in the days that ensued, as we got back out there and we started digging through the area and searching around, we find out that it was a major training point, resupply route, and hub for all of, Al-Qaeda and the terrorists and the network in that area. They had medical supplies, surgery rooms, trauma rooms. They had thousands and thousands of pounds of homemade explosives and barrels and suicide vests and ammo and machine guns and
That was all in that little town?
that was all underground, basically.
Underground.
They'd buried connexes underground. They had tunnels and supply routes and rounds and ammos. They had plans for Humvees and MRAPs and vehicles, and they had marked where the weak points in the armor and the hulls were and how best to attack and so we inadvertently kind of kicked over the rock and stumbled upon it. And it ended up, we seized everything, we destroyed everything, we took it out. And you can actually go back and you can look and you can see the drop in that area of IED attacks and attacks on coalition forces in the months that ensued after, because we took that point out.
Did you know that those 3? Did you know
I
there was
didn't
a
know-
connection when you
No, I
posted
didn't know a
that?
connection.
Wow,
One of
that
them,
is
his
something.
mother's a Facebook friend of mine, and so I knew that connection, but I didn't have any clue. And then he was in country whenever Brian Burgess got killed.
Wow.
So
Terry,
I know the
Burgesses.
Burgesses.
Yeah.
You know Terry
well.
and
Yeah, wow.
I do.
Isn't that something?
Um,
Whew.
yeah, so I saw that post yesterday, and of course, just had the 15-year anniversary on Sunday.
Yeah.
Um,
Brings you back, doesn't it? Wow. Wow.
It does.
That is just
it
amazing.
does, and I saw that, and I had to sit down, and I thought the same thing. I said, "Did he post that? Because I'm coming on."
you didn't even know.
I didn't know.
No,
I didn't know
that's
about that
I did.
connection.
I had to sit down, because we just had the 15-year anniversary on Sunday.
Because we, as roll call, stumbled onto Travis because of Don. So when I was on the phone with Travis, I was texting Rick, and I'm like, "Have you heard of this organization? This sounds like something we need to know about." And if he hadn't heard of it, and I hadn't heard of it, and we've heard of almost every organization in the DFW area, and we were like, "Dude, we got."
Well, how
get the
did
guy
Don
on.
know about it? Don Graves?
Don Graves.
Yeah.
They knew about him.
They knew about
They
Don.
knew about Don and want him to come out to their event.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
we
did
were
he go
talking
out
about
there?
scheduling him.
Well, I was talking
Yeah.
to Mary about
So I-
scheduling him to come out
Right.
for this event coming up in March. We want to have him come out and go through everything that he wants to, and from the sounds of it, he wants to go through everything, which I'm all about.
He's pretty
He
excited.
just doesn't like flying in helicopters.
Right. He won't probably go up in
Well,
the
and that's
helicopter.
fine. And then she says, "Well, do you want him to sing?"
Oh, yeah. You got to have him.
And I
sing.
went, "He sings." She goes, "Oh, he
God
yes,
bless America.
yes, he's going to
And
sing."
the national anthem.
the
yeah.
national-
So, so, Lord willing,
Yeah.
cataract surgery pending, we're going to have him out there for the full event,
Yeah.
and then have him sing at the school.
Yep.
And
We're gonna get him as involved as we can.
Oh,
We're working
yeah.
with his daughter. to
How is
try
his
to-
cataract surgery deal going? Is it
Well,
started?
I got to get with Sandy to find out how she's going to schedule him out. But as long as we get, he gets enough time just to get past whatever he has to do. He's not driving. I drive him, so it's no
Oh, yeah.
problem. But it's real. I think it's just so interesting how these things just continue to connect.
Yeah.
That you made that post and you had an involved. You were there. And
So I take those three
Wow.
guys with me on my chest
Wow.
everywhere I go.
that's just really
So
something.
I have a memorial tattoo that I got for them actually on the anniversary a few years later.
Wow.
And so each of those gentlemen has a cross
Mhm.
on my chest, right above my heart. So
Yeah.
I
Isn't that
literally take those guys with me everywhere I go.
Yeah. And the ops tempo in the Army is so high. And so
Right.
then this brought you to.
Yeah, so we finish off that deployment, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but I'll speak for most of us. When we came back, none of us handled it well, right? We were all pissed off. We were all angry. We all wanted retribution. We all wanted revenge. We all were trying to kill the pain however we could. And for most of us, that meant alcohol, right?
Sure.
I spent a long time trying to find the answer to my problem at the bottom of a bottle, and if I didn't find it, well then
Get another
Maybe the
bottle.
next shot.
maybe I grabbed the wrong bottle. It wasn't in the bottom of that bottle of Jack Daniels. It must be in the bottom of this bottle of Jack Daniels, right?
Yeah.
And so we, I'll speak for myself, but drinking a lot, right? Way too much, and for all the wrong reasons, right? I wasn't drinking to relax. I wasn't drinking to enjoy. I wasn't drinking for a nightcap to help me sleep. I was drinking to get drunk and kill the pain and go
Sure.
home, right? And so we came back from that deployment, and so I had reenlisted on that deployment, tax-free bonus, right?
Right,
If
absolutely.
you're gonna re-enlist, you
that's the
re-enlist,
time
and
to do it.
I re-enlisted with my LT on the top of an MRAP, and the guys were on the MRAP behind me holding the flag, and I re-enlisted in the middle of a base in gear before we went out on mission,
Right.
and there it is. You signed up again, off for the next mission,
Yeah.
right? So I re-enlisted for Carson, right? So I'd actually re-enlisted before the 8th. And so got back, right? You go through your PCS and get everything done and out process one unit, take my leave and do that, and off to Fort Carson I go, right? Because new unit means, well, I'll feel better, right? I'm in a new place, I'm in a new area, it's
It's
different.
going to solve all the
It's going
problems.
to solve all the problems because I'm not going to see any of those familiar faces that caused me so much pain because there's memories attached to them. It's going to be all new. It's like a fresh start. No, wrong. The drinking just went with me from Kentucky to
Sure.
Colorado, and then I get there. So I was part of the Red Warrior Battalion, part of 4th ID, right there at Fort Carson, and that unit was getting ready to deploy. So I showed up, and again, I'm angry. I'm not in a good place mentally. I get a chance to go back and get some. So I waive my stability.
Right.
Off to Afghanistan I go.
I don't need dwell time.
Don't need dwell time.
What's that all about?
I
Who
need
needs that?
I need deployment time. I don't need no dwell time. So off to Afghanistan I went. So I was actually in Afghanistan at the same time, but in a different location with a different unit, as when No Slack went back to, which Rick and I were talking about a little bit ago. So Operation Strong Eagle 3, which is what the Hornet's Nest was there for. Mike Botcher was there to film all of that. He was embedded with the Marines, and then he was embedded with No Slack, which is what turned into the Hornet's Nest. So Operation Strong Eagle 3, when that happened, I was in country, but with a different unit that I had just re-enlisted for in a different area. But I still heard about it. And another one of my very good friends, Sergeant First Class, right, Ofrin Archaga, who his wife Shauna is dear friends with the Burgesses. She was actually just here a couple weeks ago before the holidays and stayed with them. And so she's another one of those No Slack life crews. That's when her husband fell. That's where they made the documentary.
Terry's
The
probably
Hornet's
watching
Nest.
right now, by the way. 'cause
Terry,
he
I love you,
usually
buddy.
watches every episode.
Well, if you are, Terry, I love you, man. Can't wait to hook up again, sir. And so we were in Sanjay, Afghanistan, which got the really affectionate nickname Hell's Corner, right? It was just not a good place to be. We were embedded in the side of a mountain in a small little J-cop, not very big. There was maybe 50 or 60 of us all together on this area, and we humped the mountain up and down. And that was it. Now, this was news for me because I was used to being in Fort Campbell, which is an air assault unit. So anytime that we went on a big mission, we flew in and got dropped off and only had to walk part of the distance. Well, now I'm in Afghanistan
Wow.
and we're humping mountains. There's no helicopters, nobody to catch a ride with, so we did a whole lot of walking. And Afghanistan was just another repeat of that prior deployment in Iraq. It was just a bad area surrounded by a bunch of bad people that didn't want us there, and they fought back and they gave us hell, that whole time. And so I just went from deployment to deployment to deployment, and each one was just getting me worse and worse, right? And so, again, so then I come back from Afghanistan, which was the shortest deployment. So my first deployment was 13, almost 14 months. That second deployment was 15, almost 16 months. And then I get this Afghanistan deployment, and it's only like just over a year, 12 and a half months. So it's the short deployment. And so I came back and I was angry, and again, I'm still trying to solve all my problems in the bottom of a bottle, and I'm drinking too much. And so the Army has decided that you've deployed a whole lot in a really short amount of time there, soldier. We're going to pump the brakes and slow you down. You need stability. We're going to bring you down DA select recruiting orders. Now this is just death to an infantryman, right? You're telling me that I joined to be active. I joined to jump out of planes and helicopters and shoot guns and be out there on the forefront in the mission, be the tip of the spear. And now you're going to stick me in an office? And I don't even get to go to the range? I don't get to go to the field? I don't get to train? I have to be like a civilian and wear a dress uniform all the time? This is not a reward. This is a punishment. This is horrible. So to make matters even worse, when I had gotten back from Afghanistan, I was trying to reclass because I knew, I could feel the burnout. I could feel, that I was just not in a good place. And so I was in the middle of trying to reclass to 35 Lima. Right? I was trying to go counter intel. I had gone all the way through. I'd done my TS. I had my TS SCI. I had all my interviews. I had all my letters of recommendation. I had even already documented all my tattoos and gone through the whole process. Sent it up to branch, and I was just waiting on a date to go to Huachuca for school. Well, the day before I came down on orders to go to Huachuca for school, USAREC got their claws in me. And USAREC trumped because they got their orders in the first So all that work, everything I'd done to reclass, all for
Down
nothing.
the drain.
Down the drain for nothing, which made me even more mad that I'm going to recruiting. Because now not only are you taking away what I'm trying to do for me and further my career and better myself and reclass, and I've done all this work and busted my butt for months and months and months to get it done, but now you're telling me that I can't do that and I have to go recruit? This is miserable. So I went to South Carolina and I went through recruiting school, and I actually graduated top of my class, and they told me, oh, take your 3 choices. You're going to get top 3 because you're top of your class. Well, I wanted to either go to Colorado because I still had a house there, or Dallas because it was close to home, or San Antonio because it's still close to home. They sent me to Syracuse, New York.
Oh my.
Syracuse, New York. Right up the road from SU and Lemoyne University. So that's where we went, because that's where the Army sent me. So of course I show up to my recruiting station with just the best attitude, ready to just win hearts and minds and talk to kids and be a recruiter. No, I showed up with a horrible attitude, with no desire to be there, no desire to do anything whatsoever. So I ended up doing a couple years in recruiting, and then came back down, and my final orders from there were for Fort Hood. Right, so that's why I got back in Texas. Came down to Fort Hood, which was a really weird change because now I'm in a Cav unit. First I was light infantry, and then I was air assault, and then I was heavy infantry and moving around, and then I was a recruiter, and now I'm Cav, which is just a whole other mindset and frame of mind. And of course, Fort Hood is it's not a very good place, right? We were talking about that a little before the show started. It's just toxic. I'm going to say it. I said it. Whatever. Come get me, Army. I said it. Fort Hood's toxic. It really is. From the top all the way down. The leadership is toxic. Command is toxic. And just the environment is just not a good place to be. And it was at that point that, I really started, talking and thinking about it, talking to the family and the wife and everything. And it was just time to get out. It was just time to get out. I did not want to re-enlist because my next enlistment would have put me in def. I would have had to go career, and I wasn't there.
How many years did you have in by this
Just
point?
shy. Well, so when we started the process, 12. When I got out, I was just shy of 13.
Wow.
So my, that next re-enlistment would have been in def. So I got out, and we came back home. So I was born in Virginia but raised in Arlington. My parents have had a house there since '86, and my wife's family is in Grand Prairie, and so we came home to be with family, to be close, to be around, and so this is now 2016. So I left. I signed out on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, one or the other, and took my terminal leave, and so March is my actual ETS date. So I'm out in March of 2016.
Sit in that chair.
And like a lot of guys, especially infantry guys, when I got out, I didn't know where I fit in or where I went or what I was supposed to do, and so I did private security for a while, and I was a bouncer, and I was a bounty hunter, and did fugitive recovery, and I did personal protection, and I was a bodyguard, and I did security. And I did all that, but the problem was I was still gone all the time. So the whole reason I got out of the Army was so that I could be home with family and be around people and not be gone. And I was still doing the same thing. Well, the difference is I was wearing a different uniform.
Sure.
I was still gone all the time.
You were still running.
I was still running.
You were
right.
still running.
Were you still
Exactly.
drinking?
I was. Starting to slow down, but not slowing down enough.
Enough.
So then I get this phone call from this mysterious Sergeant First Class Dana Bowman.
Somebody turned you in.
Right.
Somebody
And
told on
and
you.
it's funny. So, I've been with Dana a long time. He still won't tell me, or, oh no, that's just Dana,
Yeah.
But somebody gave him my name and said, I think this guy needs some help.
Yeah, and it had enough of an impact in your life
Right.
that now you're a part
And
of this
so,
organization
yeah,
and be
and
a
so-
impact on others'
And
lives.
so it's really cool how it went. So I was a warrior, right? I went through the program in 2017, and I just fell in love with the program. And it was really, really good for me to be around all of these like-minded, similarly hurt individuals, right? I didn't feel like I was the odd one out anymore. I didn't feel like I was the only one that was struggling, that was having problems, that was dealing with all of this stuff and not dealing with it in the best way. And so I went through the program and I told Dana, I said, man, I'm coming back next year, but I want to volunteer. I want to help. This is just phenomenal. I'll drive the bus. I'll serve chow. I'll check people in. I'll run errands. I'll go grab. I don't care. But
You just want to be part
I'm
of it.
going to come back in and be a part of it.
Yeah.
And so in 2018, I came back as a volunteer, and I did just that. I drove the bus. I picked people up from the airport. I helped serve chow whenever we were doing it and hand out snacks and drinks and just generally be there. And again, I just got another phone full of friends and people that I can text and talk to and keep in touch with.
Sure.
And more Facebook friends and more brothers in arms. And it enriched me just even more.
Yeah.
And then 2019, I'm like, you're not getting rid of me now. I'm in. Like I'm coming back. I'm in. And so at this point, I've done a bunch of different speaking engagements with Dana, and I've gone to help him when he does his jumps, and I had started to do a whole lot more local stuff in between March to March. And so they asked me to be on the board of advisors. And so of course I humbly and graciously accepted and said yes, absolutely. So then 2019, still involved with the program, still volunteering, still helping, but now I'm on the advisory board.
Sure.
I'm on the board of advisors. And again, I'm helping Dana with a lot of stuff in between the events and doing different things with them. And then, luckily, 2020, right? So we do our event. We have our event in March. We do Halo. Well, and then what
March
happens?
17th.
Right. What happens literally like
March
2
16th,
days
yes.
after I send all these warriors home and put them on planes to go back? The world stops spinning. The pandemic. COVID
Yep.
happens.
March 2020.
Yeah.
Pumps the brakes. We literally did our event. And just a couple days got all those guys home, and then that event
The
happens.
bottom falls
The
out.
bottom falls out, shut down, right? So my personal business, we were down 87 days, right? Shut down, locked down, couldn't leave the house, can't work. We weren't deemed mission essential. So we were down for 87 days, right? Right after this happened. And so, roundabouts this time that this event is going on, they had asked me and voted me in to be on the board of directors, right? So now I've gone from attendee to volunteer to board of advisors to now on the board of directors. Involved with them, doing more stuff behind the scenes and reaching out to these guys and talking to people and helping out. Well, and then, 2021, we can't do an event because it's just not safe. A lot of the people that we're bringing out already have health issues. They're older. We've got a lot of Vietnam vets that come out and they've got their own health issues, and we just did not want to be the super spreader, right? That would have killed us. We would have been dead in the water. 40 Vietnam veterans attend Halo for Freedom Warrior Foundation event in March. 37 of them die of COVID. I mean, that is just...
Yeah, that'll kill your
I
organization.
mean, we're dead in
Yeah.
the water,
Yeah.
So lots of, board
So
meetings
this is
and
going
back
to be
and
your
forth.
first event.
So we did last year.
Oh, you did last
Yep,
year.
so 2021 we did.
2022.
Yep. So
Yeah.
2022.
Yes. Believe it or not, it's 2023.
I
Yeah, I
know.
forgot.
So the
I'm
reality
same
is
way.
that this thing is coming up fast and furious now.
Fast
right?
and furious.
And so there is an opportunity, if anybody is out there listening, watching to this podcast, there is an opportunity if you would like to be around these guys to go to
Yes.
that gala, right? They can
Absolutely.
buy tickets to the gala.
They can.
How can they do that?
So if you jump on the website, haloforfreedom.org, there is a link on there to purchase tickets to the gala. It's also got my phone number and Dana's phone number. please feel free to give either one of us a call. We do have those tickets that we can do. So
Where is the gala going to be?
it's at the Circle R Ranch in Flower Mound.
And
So-
here's something else that you can do. If you're out there and you want to support this great organization, but you can't go, or you don't live local, or whatever the case might be, maybe you buy some seats or you buy a table and you donate those back to other veterans in the
Right.
community.
Absolutely.
And then we can get some of our local veterans to come out and sit in those seats. So there's all kinds of opportunities
Yes.
to help with this organization. I can't wait to see what they do, because I'm really excited
And even
for the
even-
opportunity for us to interact with your
Right.
folks, because there is just so much good that you're doing there.
And so we also, all the events that we do are open to the public. So if you want to come out to the Speedway, and so when we're done here, I'll send y'all the flyers so that you can have it with all the info, the dates, the locations, and everything. Folks, if y'all want to come out to the Speedway and just kind of hang out, come talk to us, do it. Come show up, come out there, come talk to us, come meet these warriors, come shake their hands and have a conversation with them. We'll love it. I promise we will. You don't have to come out and drive. You don't have to come out and pay money. You can just come out and say hi, right? Come out and shake a hand and come say hi, right? If you're in the Mineral Wells area or you're local enough to that you don't mind driving out there, come hang out with us, right? Come talk to these guys. Come watch them fly around in a helicopter and shoot stuff. It's a really cool thing to watch. It's super fun, right? If you want to come to, there's so many places where you can just jump in and just support with a handshake, support with a hug, support with a thank you, support with, any number of things. It doesn't have to be money, right?
Doesn't have to be monetary.
It doesn't have to be monetary. You don't have to buy a table at the gala to support. We'd love it if you did, and you'll really enjoy yourself, but you don't have to. You don't have to give money to the foundation to support. You have to remember, a lot of these guys are of that older generation. I would think probably 60%, if not more, of our warriors that come are Vietnam vets.
Yeah.
Do y'all have a Facebook page?
We do.
What's it called?
It's Halo for Freedom.
Halo for Freedom.
Yes, sir.
Do the guys that have come in and go through the activities and everything, do they stay engaged? Do y'all have a...
We certainly try to. So we have a alumni, like a private alumni page that we have, so all of us can keep in touch with all of us. And then, it's funny, I probably have, 2017, 18, 19, 20, 22. I probably have 5 group chats that I'm in, one from every year, with 20, 30, 40 of these guys in, and we just buzz in all the time. Hey man, check it out. Look at what I did. Well, look at this. Well, how are you? Oh, here's my new dog. Here's this. Oh, guys, I'm having this problem today. What do you think I should do? And it's just a constant
That's a good thing.
thread
Yeah,
of
yeah.
communication, and it's support.
And some of them, being local, can come out to a roll call lunch, and they can come out and
Yes.
enjoy visiting with 400 to 500 of their friends. And
We
our
would-
next one is coming up.
There you
When
go.
is the next one?
The next one is January 27th. Our SVP link opened last night. I
Nice.
actually had Dave open it for me last night because my phone and my email were getting blown up. I was going to do it today, but I'm like, Dave, just open it now.
The folks are chomping, right?
Because we haven't had a lunch since early December, because in December we move it.
Oh,
So
'cause-
now it's going to be like 7 weeks between lunches. And here's the exciting thing, is our speaker is Dave Reaver. And if you all have not heard Dave, is he not fabulous?
He's
Rick?
good.
Yeah.
Is
Vietnam,
the new system working?
it's working great.
Super.
Yep. So the new RSVP system has been working really well. They can go right online to the roll-call.org. Real simple, just roll-call.org, or Google Roll Call of North Texas if you can't remember that. And on the home page, the lower left, click the RSVP link. Takes about 3 seconds. And it's
Awesome.
done. And you're in, and the rest will be great. You can come out. The lunch officially starts at 11:30 that day. But the place is packed by 11. And our lunches
It's really
have
going to be
been...
packed this month
Yes, it
because
will.
of our
And
guests.
400 to 500
Sounds like
people.
it. People
Yeah.
are like chomping at the bit
Yep.
to get out there.
Free lunch for veterans. All that we ask of our non-veterans is that you do a contribution of $10 for the cost of the meal. So that's all that we ask of them, but free for our veterans. And folks, you don't have to bring a 214. We don't ask for proof. People ask me that all the time. Well, what do I need? I need a
Sure.
214. I needed it. No, if you're, we hope that there's not a bunch of stolen valor out there, right? We expect that vets are going to be upright and honest
Sure.
people, and you'll, be honest. But really, come out to the luncheon. We have some great speakers this whole first quarter. Including as we're working toward confirming the April lunch speaker. So we've got, the April lunch going to be on base again, and that's going to be pretty cool. So we've got a lot of fun stuff coming up, and
A lot of stuff coming
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
This weekend is the stock show parade, and we're going to have about 40 of our Purple Heart recipients in some wagons
Saturday
morning. And then at the end of the month, we have the rodeo, and it's military night on the 30th. And the Brumley family, they donate all these tickets to the rodeo, and we really appreciate the Brumley family.
right.
February 4th, out at Abilene, we have the Tet reunion, and it's open to all veterans. So there's a lot of stuff coming
A
up.
lot of stuff.
So if you're at that rodeo, I am pretty certain if you look up to the sky at a certain point, you will see a man jumping out of a helicopter with shiny legs. That would be Dan
Right.
Bowman.
And
It
Don
might-
Graves will be
And-
singing.
Don
Yeah.
Graves will be
But
there.
he might not be jumping in this rodeo since it's at Dickey's Arena.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. I
Yeah.
know that he jumps a lot of
Yeah.
the,
The
of
local
the rodeos,
rodeos,
the local
yeah.
rodeos
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll be looking to the sky for him.
If there's anyone jumping and it's an open rodeo, I can about guarantee it's Dana coming in. American flag shoot jumping in.
Very
So,
cool.
mm-hmm.
Well, we've
Okay.
about used our time today. Travis, thank you so much. Travis Simons, United States Army veteran, and you're a business owner, Freedom Windows.
I am. So I'm going to do a shameless little plug real quick.
Go ahead.
So I own and operate Freedom Windows and Remodeling. So we are a glass and window replacement company. We also do small to medium-sized remodeling. We like to do kitchens and bathrooms, and done a couple of she shed and man cave conversions. Those are always fun. I am out of Grand Prairie, but we do service the whole Metroplex. Of course, we do love our military and vets. It's something that's very near and dear to my heart in all aspects of my life, both business and personal. So the business number for that is 817-805-2040, and our website is txfreedomwindows.com. Come check us out. Give us a call. We'll get you that just best deal in town and get you taken care of.
Very good.
Super.
Larry, thank you for hosting us. And remember Classic Auto Detail, the best detail shop in the nation.
I don't know about the nation.
Well, I could say that.
He said it, so it must be
said it.
true.
It
Must be true.
It
Rick
must,
said it.
Rick said it. It must be true.
Yep.
But thank you so much for hosting us. And Mary, it's good to see you again. We had a roll call board meeting last night and got good plans for this year. And we look forward to coming out to visit you at your event.
Yes, absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for having me out here. This has been a very cool, comfortable experience. And I've been doing a lot of research since I talked to Don and Mary, and what you guys are doing with roll call is really fantastic. So I'm very excited to see what Halo and roll call can do in league down the road.
Absolutely.
I think we can both help each other out and just do some really cool stuff for each other. So
Yep.
very excited to see that come to be.
Good.
Good. Tyler and Dusty, thank you all for working behind the scenes. And you're going to be here tomorrow to do the Wide Open Wednesday.
Well, it's going to be a
Kind of a
kind of
hybrid
a-
show.
Yeah, a hybrid
Okay.
show. We're gonna have Barry Corbin out here.
He's going to be at the rodeo parade, the stock show
Yes.
parade. He's going to be in the warming tent
Right.
with the Purple Heart guys. So,
Right. Barry is all over the place.
yeah, he is.
I told him there was a lot of people wanted to get his autograph, and so he's going to bring pictures.
Good.
And it's going to be me and Haywood and Steve and Barry.
Awesome.
Good. And Steve's got a new show coming up.
Steve's got a new show coming up, Fort Worth Musical Moments, and it's more stuff.
Very good. This is Hometown Heroes, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.